among us. And that God has visited his people. Yes, a great prophet. You see, because you can have a great prophet in your midst, but you will not notice, you will not know or notice. What is a great prophet? Someone who speaks on behalf of God. That's all. That's all. He speaks on behalf of God. What God has said, he speaks it. Even if it's a personal thing and he tells you something personal, fine. But you cannot force God, you cannot force a prophet to have and create things which are not there. So I'm just telling you this so that you appreciate the prophet you have in your own church. Amen. And receive from it, and it will make your life supernatural. I'm telling you. Amen. Amen. Can I have an amen? Amen? So that is a great blessing. Tell your neighbor, which green grass are you admiring on the other side? Ask your neighbor, are you aware of the septic tank that is best in that house? Or the gutter that is flowing through the house? The drain from the whole area is passing through the house. Amen. So, when I preach to you, if I am your pastor, if I am your shepherd, if I am your prophet, you have to see the prophetic element in it. If I am, listen, if I am, then you have to take it seriously. If you don't, it will be required from you. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 20. And they rose up early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, "Hear me, O Judah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, and so shall you prosper." Amen. Amen. Believe in the prophets, the prophetic words that have been spoken. Amen. And you will prosper. All right? Now, I don't expect anybody who is not part of my fold to believe what I'm saying. You know, I've belonged to different groups, committees, and different things that are not part of this church. Most of the time, they don't believe what I say. They don't believe what I say. That is fine. I don't expect them to believe. Even if things come to pass, that's up to them. Because they don't really believe what I say. But I expect you to believe. Yes. And that's why I came to the First Love Church. Because the younger people, the younger children, believe more. So make sure you are young at heart and have faith. All right? It's a journey. Believe in your prophet and you shall prosper. Believe in it. Believe in it and you prosper. It's a door to the supernatural. Yes. When God blessed me with Kenneth Hagin, I believed with him. I believed in him. And I'll tell you that you have to believe in a certain total, absolute way. When you have lots of questions in your head, you know, and I thank God, before someone could criticize Kenneth Hagin to me, I believed in him as, and I still do believe in him. I don't know any greater prophet in a certain sense. And he was also a prophet in a way. He had his own way of being a prophet. But to me, he was the greatest. I never heard of him calling anybody's phone number or anything like that. But his prophets, the way he was a prophet was that Jesus would appear to him. And Jesus appeared to him 8 times. That's how, and discuss with him, sit down with him for 2 hours and discuss something with him. I mean, that's a serious thing. Oh, yes. I mean, I prefer to have Jesus appear to me than to know somebody's PIN number. How many would like Jesus to appear to you and discuss something with you? Yeah. What I'm saying is that there are so many types of prophets. The Bible says there are types of administrations and various types of operations. But it's the same spirit. And that was how Kenneth Hagin was. And that was a kind of prophet that he was. You know? But I say, before anybody could criticize, I saw it as the greatest thing. So when I lay down in my room and I put on a message, and Kenneth Hagin is preaching, it's not that God is speaking, but to me, I'm in the presence of God. And I'm hearing something wonderful. And believe in God, and believe in his prophets, and you shall prosper. And truly, I have prospered in the ministry. Oh yes, I prospered in the ministry. By the grace of God, our church has built almost 1,000 church buildings. Buildings. That's a lot of buildings. That's prosperity. Yeah. That's prosperity. So, when God gives you a prophet, don't listen to things that want to make you bring the prophet down to a natural level and analyze the person in a natural way. In fact, Rick Joyner is someone who I see as a prophet, even that God gave to me, a great blessing to me. One day I read on the internet something about his personality, and they were saying that he's a choleric. Something. That was one of the things that offended me. Because when you analyze someone as he's choleric, he's melancholic, he's this, is that, you've started to see the person in a natural way and not in a spirit way. Paul said, I know no man after the flesh. If you know me after the flesh, you will not be blessed by me. Me, my flesh is Heward-Mills. I'm from Heward-Mills. I'm from another family, Switzerland, mix up, whatever. After the flesh, there's nothing you will get from me. After the flesh, I'm a medical doctor. There's nothing much. Chloroquine, Panadol, this and that, and it's over. That's all. But if you know me after the spirit, and in the realm of the spirit, you will have a different experience of me. Yes. So it is important that you know someone after the realm of the spirit. And that's why Paul said that, henceforth, we know no man after the flesh. Yea, though we have known Christ after the flesh, henceforth we know him no more. Because even though he is Jesus Christ come in the flesh, he is actually the Son of God come down to heaven. Come down from heaven. Jesus said, I came down from heaven. These are his words. I came down from heaven. And they challenged him. He said, I came down from heaven. And then the Jews asked him, if you say you came down from heaven, we know your mother and your father. How do you say you came down from heaven? And they said, is this not Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he says, I came down from heaven? So in the flesh, they knew him as the son of Joseph and Mary. But the true reality, if you want to relate with Jesus properly, is to know that I came down from heaven, not that I was born in this house or that house. So when you start to relate with your prophet as he was born to Mr. Heward-Mills, he was born to Mrs. This, he is the this of that, he went to school here, he went to do that, he went to do that, you will not get the blessing of a prophet. No. You don't get the blessing of a prophet. And that's why sometimes when I'm on outside committees, outside whatever, when I speak, even when I speak prophecies to them, they don't listen. And I don't need them to listen. But you should listen. Because if you also reject me, God gave me to you and you to me. So if you reject me, what do you get? What do you have? You have nothing. Yeah. So believe in God, you will be blessed. Believe in his prophets and you shall prosper. Supernatural prosperity will come into your life. Oh yes. Oh yes. You know, when I heard Kenneth Hagin describing the ministry, how God called him to the ministry, and he had his wife and his children, 2 little children, and God told him to go out and preach in churches. He described how he would drive out of his house. He would say bye-bye to his wife, bye-bye to his children, then he would drive out. He said that he would drive down the road and turn left and park his car and cry and weep. His heart was broken to leave his children and his family. And he would go around traveling from church to church, church to church. And he described how he suffered in the ministry, but he said it's worth it. He said it's more difficult to disobey God than to obey him. It's very painful to disobey God. It's better to obey. One time he described his wife didn't want him to go around preaching. She wanted a normal husband. So one day he was preaching and he collapsed on stage. And then when he collapsed, his wife rushed there and said his wife heard the voice of God. And God said, I can take him somewhere where he will not come back. He will not come back home at all. And he said, right there on the floor, she prayed, Lord, take him to travel. Let him go everywhere that he needs to go. Let him travel. Let him preach. Hey! All those were teachings to me. These stories, I remember them because they are stories that stayed in my mind, in my heart. And they guide me. And that's the prophet that God gave to me. That's how come I'm in the ministry. When I started the ministry, you can ask my wife. My wife was working at the Attorney General's. I had nothing. I was nothing. Nowhere. Just, as I said, I'm doing a church with a few people, 40 people, 60 people. Instead of being serious about my medical career. Everybody was worried for me. But it's something that God called me to do. And I did it. Believe in God. Believe in your prophets.